SimWorld presents Around the Table with Coach D and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I am here with my brand new co-host of Around the Table, Maestro. Maestro, how are you doing today?
A fun size boo. I really appreciate you, my man. You know, I almost wasted my time doing that Fast and Furious 37 movie where we were going to be riding around the old folks' home looking for the last set of depends. Thank you for talking me out of doing that, because I don't know if I was up for that love scene or not, man. doing great, fam. Doing great.
I know everybody's going to notice. Obviously, we got the old logo and everything here, but after this episode, we're going to be around the table with Big Bob and the Maestro, and get used to it. We're going to be here for a long time. But as everybody already knows, this is Around the Table with Big Bob and the Maestro. That is Maestro. I am Big Bob, and this is the podcast that we talk about whatever we want. Maestro, today I figured why not dive in? I know it's still a little bit of ways away, but the SWFL draft. There is a lot of talk about who's going to go first, just like every single year. Who's going to go first? Right. It's a week. People say it's a weak quarterback class. We may see only two. They say they project only two, which means probably five are going to go in the first round. Probably all in the top 10. But what are your thoughts on this year's SWFL draft? I mean, they kind of have the top five kind of mapped out. Most places have in some order: Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, right. Travis Hunter. Like that's the general top five that we're getting around the world. What are your thoughts, and do you have a different, in your opinion, do you think there should be a different top five?
Well, you know what? I'm just going to say this right out the get. You know, the one thing that I've learned over the years of the draft, and you know, it all depends on who's building the team. You know, and quite frankly, I feel like there's only like three teams that have ever drafted well, like ever. But and certainly not my Jets. So let's get that out the way right now. Man, listen. Here's the deal. Just outright, full stop, serious. The idea of what's happening right now is basically we're in the season of lies. You know, all these athletes in college, you know, they get this trip about how good they are, what they can't do, how amazing they're going to be at the next level. And then now it's when they get broken down because we're trying to devalue them because we don't want other teams to sort of look at them. And trust me, I'm going to get to answer your question, because my one experience with the pro team during the draft season was there was a scouting coach that actually worked in military intelligence, and he had a board. He had a board of all the people he was interested in that when you walked by his office, you saw it. But apparently I was told by his assistant, after the lights went out, he closed the door, closed the blinds. He had the real board hidden in terms of what was going on. It was nothing but misdirection, right? Yeah. So, you know, just to be real about it, if I were to jump outside of the traditional top five or whatever, I will take a look at the one and the only player that I think could go that high and be impactful right away, and that's Michael Williams. He played University of Georgia, edge rusher, basically a wrecker, but he can also drop into coverage. Nothing but to me, and I'm biased. Just get it out the way. Hometown boy, Georgia alum, the whole nine. I'm really biased about it, but he's someone who I find that I would think if I was going to go outside of the traditional top five. But I don't know if our viewers are old enough to remember the year Reggie Bush came out, and everybody knew he was going to be number one, knew he was going to be number one, knew he was going to be one. Yep. And what happened? And what happened the very night before? Who got signed? Mario Williams. Yep. that no one was talking about at all. I mean, he wasn't even on the board to be a day one draftee. So all of a sudden he goes number one. So, you know, until it happens, until it hits, until whoever makes the final decision, you know, and that varies from team to team, as you know, we have no idea who's going to happen. But for me, Michael Williams would be my guy that I would say, nobody's talking about him in the top five. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those, the misdirection is huge. I mean, like you said, let's devalue. We're trying to devalue the players. How can I make someone look so bad in your eyes so that he falls to me? Because that's what we're always looking at is how can, like, I will admit I'm a Colorado hater. I am. I'm a Colorado hater, and I will find any way to say Travis Hunter is not going to be a great player. But how can the Patriots make Travis Hunter look so bad for him to fall to 4? Like
Right.
that is where
Right.
that's where everybody's mind's at right now. For me, I know it's never going to happen, but Genty from Boise State. I mean,
Ooh,
I would love for a running back to go back into the top 5.
I like that. I like that.
People always say, I mean, one, uh, they ran him hard this season. He didn't even have as good of a season as he could have had.
No, no, you're right.
I mean, he sitting at halftime in certain games, still ran for 2,600 yards, 29 touchdowns. I mean, but a lot of wear and tear. But then we look
Mhm.
at, we talk about the wear and tear, and depending on how a player is built, he's a shorter he's a
Mhm.
shorter back. But you look at a player
Mhm.
like Derrick Henry, who in high school had like
Great call.
1,000, or he had a ton of uh, carries, because literally
Mhm.
I mean, you gotta love the coach for knowing what he had, and he was, we're gonna feed him the ball. I mean, and he did. I think he have like 450, 500 carries in his juniors and senior season, or something ridiculous like
Yes,
that. Um,
exactly.
but obviously, every player is going to be different. But all it takes is one hit, one little hit, and there goes a knee, there goes an ankle,
Mhm.
something that's going to really affect. But the quarterbacks can do the same thing. Um, so it's like, I get there are some quarterback needy teams right now, for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Obviously, the Titans don't know what they're doing with Levis.
No,
The
no.
Watson experiment did not work out. And I'll go on record. I'm like, man, the Browns, they're gonna make a splash with this signing, even though it's the money was terrible, in
Right.
my eyes. I mean, it just I look at players like Tom Brady, who for the first 75 years of his career, he was a middle of the pack paid player, because he
Mhm.
knew what it
Mhm.
meant to build a team. If I'm making 50, $60 million, who are we going to pay to come play with me?
Thank you.
Nobody.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
yeah,
You, you, you know, Big Bob Ben. Listen. When you look, you're straight on preaching to the idea. Look at the teams where the quarterback takes up, what is it, 30, 35 or more percent of the salary cap. They've always had issues. But I'm so glad you said what you said about Brady. People forget that draft that Brady came out in was the draft that, and I'm going to go back to my Jets again. Let's get it out the way. I'm going to get all the pain out the way now. We drafted Chad Pennington, and everybody makes all the comments now, and that's how I know who wasn't paying attention, because people forget Chad Pennington came in 3rd for the Heisman. His arm was being compared to Jim Kelly. His accuracy was being compared to Dan Mastenko. I can never say his name right, and I refuse to, because of who he is and who he played for. But that one hit you talked about, that hit where he got smacked down and his shoulder got trapped underneath him, changed his destiny in the league as a quarterback, but also, of course, the Jets. So you're right. You're one hit away from everything being over, and to me, that's the classic example. And that reality of, how can you protect yourself? How
yeah,
can you take care of yourself? And oh, by the way, bravo Zulu to you, my dude. The running backs has been revalued now. See Saquon Barkley, see Derrick Henry, see oh my goodness, for the 2 guys for the Kansas City Chiefs. My favorite player, Pacheco.
mm.
Just see how the running back position. Oh, Christian
I was
Christian
just saying
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey. You got we
Yeah.
forget about Alvin Kamara in New Orleans because of
Oh
the
my
season they
goodness.
had.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
so many, and they're the young kid down in Miami.
Oh,
The
yes. Yes.
I can't remember. No, I was gonna say it, but it's not. That guy. We know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you never know. What draft was it? I believe it was Aaron Curry out of Wake Forest. He was a surefire. That was the only play. That was the safest pick. You were getting a Hall of Famer in him, and he couldn't change. He couldn't come up to the speed of the game once he got to the NFL.
No.
You brought up Brady's draft, which makes me a little sad because that season. I mean, I love Abdul Carter. I hope he gets picked number 1 this year in the SWFL draft. I hope he does well. We have never, when it comes to players, period, at Penn State, they don't usually do too hot in the SWFL. But that was the season. Courtney Brown went number 1. LeVar Arrington went number 2. LeVar Arrington is another one of those players. That was a potential Hall of Famer who isn't going to go to the Hall of Fame because of an injury. And you just never, like you said, people love to bash on Chad Pennington, but he was supposed to be the savior there. I mean, even in who was it for the Rams? Was it Bolger?
Yes, because Bolger, then Green, then they got
Mark Bolger.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. You're. Oh my goodness. Great. Oh, so you know what? It's so different from the SWBA, right?
Yeah.
You get the best player, no matter who they would be. Especially since I think the last team in SWBA that actually went against when we start to see positionless basketball, sarcastic quotes, and me thinking of you guys beating me to death with frozen oranges and socks when I first came on to SimWorld, trying to get me to understand that, was Portland the year Michael Jordan came out. And instead of drafting Michael Jordan, they drafted another center that crashed and burned, as all centers would go to Portland and die, right? Yep. But in the NFL, it's like, okay, what do we need as a team? What do we want as a team? Who do we have that we can't keep? Which comes back to the need thing again. And oh, by the way, a lot of the teams, for instance, Bill Belichick, you remember his whole move? He would trade almost all of his first round picks. Yep. Because he wanted volume. He figured if I pick a bunch of people that I want and they can follow in my system, I'll be fine. Yep. And then you had all those other teams that would strand picks, go in the first round, move back to the first round, and 2 years after that, those guys are selling cars or washing machines in Sears. Yep. And it's such a struggle bus, and I can't believe I'm going to give them credit. So somebody hold my hand.
I got you.
The Philadelphia Eagles. I feel you, baby. I feel you. The Philadelphia Eagles have set the model of how teams should draft and go after free agents. Look at what they've done over the last 4 years, how they built that team back up. And everybody says, well, they weren't that far away. They won the Super Bowl not that long ago before this past year. You're absolutely right. But look at how the team crashed because of the horrible contract structure. Yep. So they had to build back up through the draft and through selective free agency. And they did it, beautifully, which means every other owner worth their salt that's not totally drunk, so we leave Dallas out of it, should be looking at their general manager saying, how come you can't do that? Yeah. And the reality of it, Big Bob, just straight out, man, think about how disconnected so many organizations are. The ownership, upper management, middle management, corporate management, and now we're going to start getting to the coaches, right? And then the scout team and everything else. And everybody's got their break glass plan for when I get fired, where I'm going to go, who am I still in bed with that's going to give me a job? What can I bring? What can I say in the interview to sweeten the pie? Hey, I'll come to you and I can bring you Big Bob, or I can bring you whoever, all that's going on too. So, building a team through the NFL, Sans Philadelphia Eagles, is almost, I hate to say it, it's an art I think that's gone the way of the dodo. Most teams are going to try to build through some sort of cheap free agency, unsigned free agent players, because they need to keep the payroll low. But you need that star to sell jerseys. You need that star to sell tickets. You need that star for that other stuff. But you realize if we can come close to replicating what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
Because remember the Chiefs were set, and all of a sudden here comes Patrick Mahomes. He takes the gig away from Alex. What was it? Was it Alex Smith? I can't even remember now.
Smith,
So he comes in. It's like, okay, lightning in a bottle, right? But then again, look at what he had. There was a connection between the ownership and upper management, middle management. Kansas City at the time didn't really have corporate management because they were so steeped within the community. So it was a part of the deal. They have that now, right? Because now you see where all the players drive the same type of cars, the commercials and all the ad stuff they do. Not to mention all the games they play. So I'm not surprised that they ran out of gas in this last Super Bowl, Yeah. So, but just think about how many teams don't have that connection and they're not streamlined from beginning to end. It's just, okay, we added this player. It should be better. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
In the NFL. So there you go.
Yeah. And then you also have those people that just, you need to be a cohesive unit. So while you might have all these different departments, you have to have those cohesive units. And I look back to, I believe it was 2000. I'm trying to remember if it was Favre's first season with the Vikings or the second. We traded for, I believe it was the second, when he ended up getting hurt and just being done. We traded for Randy Moss, and I think he was there for 3 games, and out of nowhere, Childress just, I'm done. We're trading him.
Yeah.
And then he ends up getting fired because that wasn't a move that ownership wanted. And it's like, at some point, everybody needs to be a cohesive unit. And we hear all the rumors about the Eagles not being a cohesive unit, how Sirianni and Hurts they don't have a good relationship and blah, 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 blah. And every now and again, there's going to be issues. When you're together for long enough, whether it's a head coach and a quarterback or whoever, when you're together for long enough, you're going to get a little annoyed at each other sometimes. But it's how you come back from it. And they did, I think they showed just that. They were going to come back from it this season. They weren't going to let all that outside noise bother them. And they won a Super Bowl for it, but they built their team based off of what they need, not what everybody else expected. You can't worry about what other people are going to think, but you also don't want to go the way of the Raiders, who just go draft.
Yes.
There's a little
the fastest guy.
Right. Who ran the fastest 40, and we're going to draft him. It's like when they
okay here. listen for our listeners who might not know. True story, only because I've heard it 3 different people, and one of the guys I played with in college. He talked about how they would have their draft board up and ready to go when the Raiders, and I think the Raiders were at this point, they were in LA getting ready to move back to Oakland. And he said 3 drafts in a row, here's exactly what happened. They got their people ready to go, potential trades, who they want to get, what's going on. Now on the clock, the Los Angeles Raiders. And next thing you know, they're talking about, okay, make the phone call, pick up the phone, getting ready to call the person they're going to draft, right, getting ready to send the card out. All of a sudden, here comes Al Davis. Hey, listen, this dude, Big Bob, he ran a 4.27 at his college track tryout. Get him. But he's never played football. Get him.
I feel bad because I make the Raiders a butt of a lot of my football jokes because it felt like they were the team where players just they went there to get a paycheck. I mean, Moss went there after his Vikings years, intentionally played. I don't want to say intentionally, but he didn't play to his standard and got traded to the Patriots and went and had a record-breaking season while he was with Tom Brady. But it really, the Raiders are they sure know how to. They sure know how to lose, but
yeah, you know what? And listen, that's disconnect. I mean, okay, you know what? Hurt Dog Holler, my favorite team, the New York Jetropolitans, right? The worst example of any corporate organization since the Sumerians invented pillows when they put rocks inside burlap. It is the idea of what can you do wrong. Not only are we going to do it, we're going to tell you to hold our beer and our street meat churro as we show you that we can do it wrong. You know, every decision made with a disconnect. Every time you don't let the coach be the head coach, every time you don't let the general manager be the general manager, and every time your owner feels like he should be like his hero, Al Davis, the difference is Al Davis God rest his soul, which I know he's not resting. He's up there probably yelling about the draft right now. At least he knew football. People forget Al Davis was a hell of a football player, until he got hurt. So, but the Jets ownership, the only thing they know about playing football is when they watch their grandchildren play on Wii. So, that's why when you get these bad decisions, what you brought up earlier, you get this disconnect that's just horrible. And you look at a team, the Cleveland Browns, you talked about, right? They're trying to overcome that infinity laden contract they gave the dude who likes to mess with massage therapists. Apparently, he's not the only one. I guess they have a book club.
Apparently.
So too soon. Okay, So they're looking at Cam Ward, the guy who played at Miami, right? That's the word on the street. Well, think about this. Cam Ward's going to go to an organization. You look at the OC for Cleveland and look at the offensive scheme that Cam Ward played in Miami. They're completely opposite. I mean, so is he going to be comfortable there? Is he going to be able to perform there? Are they going to change the scheme to fit around him? I can't see that happening, but who knows, right? And then let's get it out the way. Let's go and get the Colorado hate out the way. Travis Hunter going to the New York Giants. Okay, let's see here. What kind of system did Travis Hunter play in Colorado under Prime Slime? It's definitely not what they do in New York.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, in terms of as a defensive player, Colorado kind of let him free range. He's not going to get that in New York if he's going to be a two-way player.
Yeah.
And as a wide receiver, who's going to get him the ball?
Yeah.
Who's going to get him the ball? So, that whole talk about him going to the Giants, we can talk about how great a player is, but more so than any other sport, in football, you have to go where you are truly a fit, because you have 10 other guys on the field with you and everybody has a responsibility. And then you got the position coaches, the scheme coaches, the offensive, defensive coaches, and then the coordinators. And if you don't fit in that system, especially if you're the kind of person, see Travis Hunter, who wants numbers, right? Yeah. Let's face it, he was trained by the best. He needs attention. He needs numbers. It doesn't work like that in the NFL, fam. It doesn't work like that. So is he going to be happy? If he's not happy, can you imagine him, his rookie year, chiming up about what he needs around grown men who've been doing this, who some of them are probably close to being grandfathers now? Dude, come on, don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. But hey, this is where we are now, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I do. I fear a little bit for some of these quarterbacks that might end up in particular places. Like you brought up New York. I mean, they do have Malik Neighbors as a rookie had a very, very, very good season, but he was clearly not happy. Like, do you want to bring in a rookie quarterback with a rookie who did really, really well, who doesn't really, at least from what reports show, it doesn't really want to be there. And that's hard. Like you want to bring them into a good situation. I do get disappointed that we don't live in a time where a player can sit for a couple seasons just to get their feet wet so they're not thrown right in. But we're just not there. I mean, the talent level, everybody that makes it to the NFL had to be good. They are all from number one all the way down to the 2000th player, whatever you want to say. They clearly, if you like NBA, we talk, or the SWBA, I talk all the time. Like people will say like, oh, this player is not good. This player is not good. It's like they're playing against the most elite athletic players in the entire world. I will always bring Brian Scalabrine up. I love Brian Scalabrine. People want to talk bad about him, talk bad about Haslam, who was in the league for 20-something years because he wasn't getting a ton of playing time. He was still there for a reason. Not necessarily because of what he was doing on the court, but he was able to teach. He was the teacher on the court for them. And then you might have to throw him in there every now and again when someone needs to get popped on the other side of the court. But I mean, every team needs one of those guys, I guess.
Absolutely.
But I hate we set up all these young players. I'm going to use. I'm so sorry, Maestro. I am going to use the Jets. We set up these young quarterbacks with offenses that are not right for them. I'm going to use Sam. And
Say it. Say the words.
I'm using Sam Darnold He
Speak the truth.
he had an opportunity. He did not do well with New York. Had an
Mm-mm.
opportunity to sit with an elite offensive mind with the 49ers, with the coaching
Mm-hmm.
staff, and then he
Mm-hmm.
went to who a lot of people considered one of the best quarterback whisperers in the
Mm-hmm.
league, and Kevin O'Connell,
Preach.
and had a elite season for somebody who everybody wrote off. I mean, he was going to become. I'm trying to think of a quarterback he's been there. They stayed. Vinny Testaverde stayed in the league. Again,
Yes.
he was a starter for a good portion
Mm-hmm.
of his career, but still he stayed in the league for so long because he brought he brought something to the table.
Yes, he did.
But Sam Darnold, it was like if he was going to get a job, he was just going to keep kind of sitting back. I mean, who was who did
Woo.
the Chiefs Chase Daniels? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they paid him like starter money to sit as a backup,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like why he brought something to the table, and a lot of people didn't think Sam Darnold was even going to be in the league, and now he goes and probably just played his way into $120 million contract.
Oh, easily. And you know what? Tell you what, I got the best idea. Big Bob and Maestro's quarterback school. Well, here's what you and I are going to do. We're going to set up an associate's degree program where we're gonna pay players for offensive line work, for defensive backfield work, defensive line work. But send us the people you want to be the quarterbacks in your teams, and we will give them full on school book training and on the field training to be an NFL quarterback. We'll teach them how to study film. We'll teach them how to read defenses. We'll teach them how to be leaders. We'll teach them all those things. And we guarantee that when you take them out of Big Bob and Maestro's school, that you're going to have a stable quarterback that can lead your team. By that time, they're probably playing 21 games a season, and you're going to get to the playoffs.
They're playing in the SWFL, the CFL, and the UFL all in the same year, breaking all kinds of records. And I know John Gruden might be looking for a job. Maybe we can tie him into this somehow.
Well, I tell you one thing. I just love the way that fella go. I tell you.
Well, let's see. So, Maestro, I know we've talked a lot, and we could keep on talking. Let's wrap this up with your Jets are picking at number 7. My Vikings, they're picking at number 24. What is your dream scenario for your Jets at number 7? Let's say I will tell you can degrade and talk bad about all the other players to get them down to number 7. All I'm saying is if you want Travis Hunter there at number 7, we can make that happen. At least here we can.
I'm gonna tell you something. I would like to see Cam Ward drop, and I'll tell you why. Cam Ward, he showed me a stability with the University of Miami that they've not had at quarterback probably since the days of Vinny Testaverde and all those other guys. And regardless of what he could, okay, yes, I get the idea that he bounced around a little bit. He played with the portal a little bit, and that's just the way the landscape is now. Yeah. But I would think I could live with a quarterback like him in a fresh new offense with a fresh new offensive coordinator that's willing to play this new quasi RPO West Coast offense hybrid thing. I think he would be a good fit and opportunity for us to have something to build around, because right now, quite frankly, we have nothing offensively to build around. So you might as well start with the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have some. I think you have some solid skill position. I mean, let's say Devontae Adams probably isn't going to be there. Right. I don't suspect that he'll be there.
No.
You guys do have. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he wasn't happy after the Jets traded for Devontae Adams last season. What's his name? The wide receiver out of Ohio State.
Yeah. Wait, Wilson? Is it Wilson?
Yes. It was Wilson. Mm-hmm. He is a talented player. Drops were a little bit of an issue, but he's got talent. He's got the talent to help somebody, as long as he, kind of like Malik Neighbors, he's got to keep his head on. He's got to look at the bigger picture. You're not going to get 150 yards and 2 touchdowns every single night. You're just not. That's a rare breed of player, and they're not there yet. That's for your Justin Jeffersons, your Jamar Chases. But yeah, I mean, it would. the Jets need to start fresh. I am personally a fan of building the offensive line first, but they
Oh,
got some solid
absolutely.
players last season. They
Mm-hmm.
drafted a Penn State tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna.
Mm-hmm.
He should be a solid player. I wish they could have kept their. I obviously Malik Becton's obviously happy that he went to the Eagles from the Jets because
Oh,
he got himself
absolutely.
the Super Bowl. But I do think for Cam Moore, you're right. There was some stability there. I still, it's a personal thing. I'm still not happy with him regarding his decision to only play a half to set the SWU
Yeah.
the SimWorld youth
Agreed.
football record, but
Agreed. Agreed. I agree with you.
it's the world we live in now. But I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward
Mm-hmm.
falling down. It's possible that we see one of the quarterbacks drop, but I just think it's always possible. But people are going to start. The Vikings did it the year they drafted Christian Ponder. All the quarterbacks are falling. The sky is falling. We need to reach and grab somebody. We didn't give him a fair shake. I love Christian Ponder as a person, and people are going to
Mm-hmm.
talk bad about him. He didn't have a great career in the SWFL, but he wasn't in the best situation. He got thrown to the wolves.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's flip it again. I know we can talk all night and all day. For the Vikings, I'm torn. I really want us to re-sign Aaron Jones at running
Yeah.
back, but I would love for some reason, and he's not going to fall. But I would love for some reason for Jenny to fall down to the Vikings in the first round.
Mm.
If that doesn't happen, I would like for them to potentially trade up into the second round and end up with Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. Obviously, as a Penn State fan, I got to see him for the past
Yeah.
couple of years. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's a solid, not a first round pick, but for a more realistic pick, and I say more realistic, some places have him going to the Vikings at 24.
They do. They do. They do.
Some for the Vikings, for me, the Eagles showed that you need the line, whether it be offense or defense, is very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mason Graham out of Michigan. I say this
Ooh.
is a more realistic
Ooh.
pick, but it depends. Some places have him going as high as number 5. Some places have him going as low as 25, 26 past the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we need that big athletic body in the middle. I'll be honest, just as a football fan in general, I don't like our defensive scheme because I don't like the 3-4. I
Right.
love I prefer the 4-3, but we run the 3-4. We got
Mm.
Dallas Turner from last season. He didn't live up to the expectation that we expected.
No.
Because when we drafted him, everybody was like, "Oh my God, they got a steal. How did the Vikings end up with him?"
I think he was hurt. I think he was hurt, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, and obviously teams, players, they'll hide that. We still live in an age that, for me, like, I'll just, little personal, my job. I get hurt almost every single day with my job, but I still got to go back. People rely on me, and especially as a
Mm-hmm.
rookie, you don't if you don't care what other people think about you as a rookie, then they're
Ooh.
gonna push you away, and you're not
Yep.
gonna be on a team for very long. And
No.
you gotta pop a couple ibuprofen. They probably get some cortisone shots in the SWFL to keep on pushing, but sometimes you got to push through because you don't want to be seen as that guy that can't stay on the court or stay on
Right.
the field or stay on the
And
court or whatever.
and by the way, to your point, please don't lose your thought. What a lot of people might not realize in the SWFL, every time you go to the trainer's room, it's logged. Even if you go in to get an aspirin, it's logged. So what a lot of cats will do is they won't go in the trainer's room. They'll do their outside personal trainer, outside personal massage person. Well, some are too soon. Outside.
Come on, Justin Tucker. What are you doing?
Know, right? Exactly. Outside, like the outside rehab person to keep it off the books because they don't want their name popping up on the trainer's book every day, week after week after week after week. So, you have that stigma too. That's a great point you just brought up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I expect to see he'll have a full off season. He'll be able to he'll be able to get himself healthy if that is the case. But we got Dallas Turner on one side. Harrison Phillips has done a great job for us. I believe he when he came over from, I think it was the Giants, if I'm remembering correctly, which we seem to steal a lot of their defensive tackles, but that's whatever. But I say Mason Graham, he is an athletic player who could play defensive end in our particular scheme. We still have Brian Flores, who God knows if he's ever going to get another head coaching job. I don't know if the whole thing in Miami just I don't know, players speaking out saying that he wasn't a great. I don't know. He deserves. I think he deserves one more shot. I will say I am ecstatic that people keep pushing him away because that means we can keep holding on to him.
Exactly.
But that's just on the bias side of things and being selfish.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose him. But
well, you know what? He won the lawsuit against the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
So, so, he had proof of where the Miami ownership wanted him to lose games. And that's why they sealed the court hearing. That's the word, that's the dirty word on the street that he actually won that lawsuit. That's why he was able to keep his job, got all his back pay plus bonuses. So, when you can win the battle and lose the war. Yep. He might not get that other legitimate shot just because we can't get rid of you, but we're sure not going to give you another chance to embarrass us by telling our secrets when we don't want them told.
Yeah. Imagine the difference with these. I'm going to use two coaches right now who have had great success. Obviously, imagine if they had held on to Brian Flores, but also imagine had they held on to Dan Campbell. My brother is a Dolphins fan. We both when Dan Campbell was there, we loved what he brought to the team, and it was like they decided they weren't going to hold on to him after the interim tag. I believe that was the case. They had an interim and didn't hold on. Just imagine how different they could have been if they didn't make these. One of the most important decisions is your coach, and if you keep floundering on that, hopefully this time, I mean, it's going to depend on if Tua can stay healthy or not, or if they get someone in to replace him. They might have gotten it right this time, but imagine what it could have been if they got it right 5, 6, 7 years ago.
But you know something? I'm just going to say this right now. Detroit is definitely the place for Dan Campbell. Go back and listen to his very first. Go back and listen to his very first press conference when he talked about
kneecaps.
Exactly. And you know what? I hate to say it though. That blue collar mentality wasn't necessarily the fit for I forget who the family who owns the Dolphins now. But it wasn't a fit for that team or their image in terms of where they were. And when and even if something is, and I know it's petty, Big Bob, but we know that happens, right? Yep. If the coach doesn't fit the image for the team, ownership has an issue, upper management has an issue, that causes conflict, that causes miscommunication. Talking behind the back. Next thing you know, the team's unstable. Next thing you know, you start losing because nobody trusts anybody.
Yep. I will always tell all the managers that were there when I go, I'm an administrator where I'm at, so there's only one person above me, and that is the person that runs the entire facility. I tell my people all the time, I said, I don't care if you like me, but we need to work together. And we're here for the kids. As long as you can come to me and tell me how much you hate me, but as long as on the outside everything's going all right, and we can at least have those conversations behind closed doors, like that's fine. But we need to show that cohesive unit up front. And that's the most important thing, for sure. But
absolutely.
Maestro, I know we have been talking for over 30 minutes now, almost.
Oh my goodness!
It just keeps on rolling. We're going to probably get yelled at by our boss, but you know what? We'll wrap it up. Do you have any final words for the people?
I really want to thank you, Bob, for reaching out and offering me this opportunity to come sit and hang with you. I know I'm not even close to filling up the major shoes that were here before me, from Eli with the voice to the almighty Coach Alyssa Dodge. Oh my goodness. So, I know I'm not even close to that, but I want to thank you for this opportunity. Thanks for the chance to talk other sports. And I want to appreciate everybody for following us here in SimWorld Sports. You guys make our experience fun too. So please never forget that.
Without you guys, there is no us. Maestro, I appreciate you as always, and everybody else. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.